You know, it's kind of funny. Sega and NEC were console competitors for a while, and yet Sega's coin-op games made it to the TurboGrafx. In America, we had stuff like Fantasy Zone, and this one, Space Harrier, a Sega blast fest hitting the arcades back in 1985. There is a planet of great beauty and peace called Dragon Land, which is now being threatened by evil invaders. Luckily, one man, the Space Harrier, can change all of this. And guess what? That man is you. Why do they always volunteer us for this stuff? I mean, can't they even ask us nicely at least? I mean, you know, damn. Space Harrier is a one-player, sort of rail shooter with, as you can see, a unique perspective. Harrier runs along the ground or flies into the air, blowing up everything in sight. The directional pad moves him around the entire screen, and button 1 or 2 fires the weapon continuously with the turbo switches in the up position. And that's it. No power-ups, no gems to collect. Nothing. Some people say this part depresses them, and they get bored quickly. But what Space Harrier has going for it is fast and responsive gameplay that gets quite crazy at times. Oh, whoa, hey, whoa, 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 hey, man! Jesus, take it easy. There are numerous enemies, including Adar, the giant creepy face, Doom, the giant creepy robot, and Tomoth, the giant creepy triangle thing. There is also a boss monster at the end of most levels, some of which have dual heads, some of which are a pushover, and some that are neon blue peanuts. Huh. Levels 5 and 12 are bonus rounds, where a white dragon appears for Harrier to ride. What do? Well, you run into stuff. Literally. It's kind of pointless and awkward to control, but the stage, luckily, is over pretty fast. The characters on the TurboGrafx are more pixelated and smaller than the arcade, but they do look good, and the game is quite faithful. It has a pleasing pastel color scheme and is very bright most of the time. Unfortunately, the bottom portion has straight lines instead of the famous checkerboard panels associated with the arcade. The sound effects are pretty close to the arcade. Although it has less punch, that famous main theme is still intact. Oh man, I heard that music echoing through the arcades for many years. The speech is also all included. But it's extremely scratchy. If I didn't know what was being said there, I probably wouldn't understand it. The control is rather smooth. There are 2 settings, normal and reverse. One controls the normal way, up moves up, down moves down. The other reverses the controls, like a flight simulator and like the original arcade. You see, both the sit-down and stand-up variations use the flight control-like joystick with a trigger. Both settings control well, which is a good thing because Space Harrier can get a bit hectic. I found Space Harrier on the Turbo more difficult than its arcade counterpart. It can be tough at times, especially since one hit and you're down for the count. You can usually dodge the enemy shots since they always target where you are positioned. But with so many obstacles and villains, it is extremely tough to time movements correctly in later levels. While the graphics are good, they do tend to get sloppy, making distance a bit hard to judge. The manual states that entering CNT as your high score initials will allow you to continue. And it's true. A continue option is now present on the main screen. But the bad news is, the continues are only from right after a bonus stage. Therefore, you need to reach stage 12 in order to continue to the end. Now, I like this game, but it does get tedious and things do seem to repeat themselves. So, you may not really want to continue playing with this whole backtracking involved. But if you're a fan of Space Harrier, you will definitely appreciate the TurboGrafx version because, at least at the time, it was a really good translation. Space Harrier has always been a unique blast-everything fest in the arcades. If you allow yourself to just sit back and enjoy it, the game moves into harder and faster levels, activating a nice little adrenaline rush. NEC did a pretty good job creating a faithful port of the competitor's arcade hit.